Welcome to the Shire Manjimup Ordinary Meeting of Council, Thursday the 12th of December 2024. Commencing at, a little bit late, 5:34. Kaya, Nala Karak Nunga Khan Karak Ninja Puja. We acknowledge the Noongar people as the traditional owners of the land in which we meet. Item 2, announcements by the President. I would just like to wish everyone a very happy and safe and relaxing festive season. I'd like to remind you that carols are on at the Heritage Park at 4 o'clock on Sunday, and to make the most of our fantastic Cherry Festival over the weekend. Item 3, attendance and apologies. Apologies, we have none. And approved leave of absence, we have none. Declarations of interest.
Thank you, Madam President. I have a declaration of impartiality interest from Councillor Omaday in relation to agenda item 9.5.6, proposed scheme amendment 28 to local planning scheme number 4, which relates to 200 Club Road, Pemberton. The nature of the interest held is that Councillor Omaday is the chairperson of the PAAI, Pemberton Aged Accommodation Incorporated. Thank you. And I also have a declaration of financial interest from Councillor Ivey in relation to agenda item 9.2.2, which relates to a proposed licence to occupy by the Southern Forest Arts Inc. And the nature of the interest held is that Councillor Ivey receives remuneration from the Southern Forest Arts Group for trail maintenance work. So Councillor Ivey will need to leave the chamber for that agenda item, and Councillor Omaday is permitted to stay and take part in the debate on item 956.
Excellent, thank you. Section 5, public question time. Response to public questions taken on notice, there are nil. 5.2, public question time. Under meeting procedure determined by the Shire Manjimup Standing Orders Local Law 2013, this is the only opportunity for members of the public to ask up to a maximum of 2 questions of council. There is no further opportunity to question the Shire Manjimup during the meeting. Questions can be asked on any Shire matter, not just on issues included in the meeting agenda, and each person should have up to 3 minutes to ask their questions, which may be extended by an additional 3 minutes where considered appropriate by the presiding member. Persons asking questions are entitled to a response unless the question is declared out of order by the presiding member. If any matter requires further investigation, that response may be in writing. Any person asking questions of council must state their correct name and address, as this will form part of the public record of this meeting. Are there any questions? Fabulous. Section 6, presentations. Petitions, there are nil. Presentations, there are nil. Deputations, there are nil. Delegate reports, there are nil. Conference reports. I'd just like to say that I attended the State Council meeting in Busselton, the Walga State Council meeting, where myself and the Executive Officer of the Warren Blackwood Alliance of Councils presented to the committee. It was received very well, and it was incredibly professionally done. I would like to commend Katie for the work that she did there. I also attended the National Roads Congress in Margaret River. I got the opportunity to speak to Watercorp and Main Roads WA on various issues that concerned our Shire. Confirmation of previous minutes. Would anyone like to move the minutes, please? Councillor Omaday.
Madam Chair, I move that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the Council held on the 7th of November 2024 be confirmed as a true and accurate record.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Mylan. Let's put it to the vote, please. All those in favour? Carried 9-0. Motions of which previous notice has been given? There are nil. Section 9, Officers' Reports. For the interest of the gallery, I'll explain how we're about to consider the agenda items for this meeting. All councillors have had the agenda for 1 week, giving us time to thoroughly review each item. This meeting is the only time that councillors are able to formally debate agenda items. I'll read out each item listed in the agenda, and any councillor will be able to identify an item they wish to debate. These will be listed on the board behind me. All items not identified by councillors to be debated will be moved in accordance with the officer's recommendation in one motion as listed in the agenda and moved en bloc for voting purposes. If your item is not listed on the board and it is moved en bloc, it will be passed as per the officer's recommendation. Following this, council will consider the remaining items in agenda order. Okay. Office of the CEO, 9.1.1, Pemberton Community Hub Ballet Maya Project Review is out. 9.1.2, Council to Chief Executive Officer delegations from the 12th of December 2024 to the 25th of February 2025 is absolute and taken out. 9.1.3, Review of the Council Policy 1.1.1, Council Meeting System. 9.1.4, Shire of Manjimup Annual Report 2023-2024 and Notice of Annual Meeting of Electors is absolute. Business Directorate. 9.2.1, Request for extension to lease condition time restriction for development completion, site 519 Windy Harbour is absolute. 9.2.2, Proposed licence to occupy to Southern Forest Arts Inc. has a financial and taken out. 9.2.3, Proposed lease to Little Taddy's Childcare Centre, taken out. 9.2.4, Proposed lease Walpole Community Resource Centre. 9.2.5, Proposed lease Walpole Town Hall. Finance and Administration. 9.3.1, Shire financial payments for October 2024. 9.3.2, monthly statement of financial activity October 2024. Development Services. 9.5.1, Review of delegations, authorisations and appointments. Development Services Directorate is absolute. 9.5.2, Proposed advertising of draft Windy Harbour Coastal Hazard Risk Management and Adaptation Plan. 9.5.3, Application for retrospective approval of dam modifications at Lot 104 Tamar Terrace, Croia. 9.5.4, Responsible Authority Report. Proposed motel and restaurant at Lots 71 and 72 Pritchard Street and Lot 73, 74 Naroki Way, Manjimup is taken out. 9.5.5, Delegated Planning Decisions October 2024. 9.5.6, Proposed Amendment to 28. Proposed Amendment 28 to Local Planning Scheme at Lot 4, at Number 4 at Lot 200 Club Road and Swimming Pool Road, Pemberton. Adoption for purposes of advertising. It's out. 9.5.7, Request to initiate proposed scheme amendment for short-term rental accommodation. 9.5.8, Proposed dam extension with reduced setback for Lot 9 in brackets 5169 Churches Road, Jardee. 9.5.9, Proposed budget adjustment, replacement of public barbecues at Windy Harbour Reserve is absolute and taken out. Ranger and Emergency Services. 9.7.1, Proposed fire weather officer. Community and Recreation Services. 9.9.1, Proposed adoption of Shire of Manjimup Child Safety Awareness Policy 3.11.1. Technical Services. 9.12.1, Request to consider staging of the Regional Road Group Funding 2025-26 for North Walpole Road. Sorry?
Spelling mistake. Regional.
Oh, thank you. Did you want that taken out? Yeah. It does have a spelling mistake, but we'll take it out anyway. Advisory committees. 9.16.1, Unconfirmed minutes of the Bushfire Advisory Committee meeting held 30th of October 2024. 9.16.2, Unconfirmed minutes of the LEMAC meeting held 13th of November 2024. 9.16.3, Unconfirmed minutes of the Reconciliation Action Plan Advisory Committee meeting held the 8th of November 2024 is out. 9.16.4, Unconfirmed minutes of the Manjimup Heritage Park Advisory Committee meeting held on the 12th of November 2024 is absolute. 9.16.5, unconfirmed minutes of the audit committee meeting held 26th of November 2024. 9.16.6, unconfirmed minutes of the Manjimup Town Activation Advisory Committee meeting held 6th of November 2024. 9.16.7, unconfirmed minutes of the Northcliffe Town Activation Advisory Committee meeting held the 14th of November 2024. Is absolute and taken out. 9.16.8, unconfirmed meeting notes of Walpole Town Activation Advisory Committee meeting. Thank you. Would someone like to move them? Councillor Amadou.
Madam Chair, I move that Council adopt the recommendations contained in the Council officers and committee reports on pages 1 to 143 of the agenda, with the exception of those on the board.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Mylan. All those in favour? Carried 9-0. Alrighty. Councillor De Campo is very keen. 9.1.1, Pemberton Community Hub Ballymaya Project Review. Councillor De Campo.
I can hear the bells, Madam President, ringing on December 25th.
Are you moving this motion, please, Councillor De Campo?
I'd like to move to defer this item until the February meeting.
Is there a second to defer? Councillor Ventris. All those in favour? Oh, sorry. Do you want to speak to it? Is there anyone against moving? Murray? Is there anyone against deferring it? With that in mind, should we just put it to the vote? All those in favour? Carried 9-0. Murray Ventris, 9-0. Okay. Okay, 9.1.2, sorry. 9.1.2, Council to Chief Executive Officer delegations from the 12th of December 2024 to the 25th of February 2025.
Very good.
Is there a mover? Councillor Ivey.
I move as per the officer's recommendation.
And a seconder? Councillor Darren. Councillor Ivey, did you want to speak to it? Councillor Darren? Are there any speakers against it? Can we put it to the vote, please, councillors? All those in favour? 9-0. Page 19, 9.1.4, Shire of Manjimup Annual Report 2023 to 2024 and Notice of Annual Meeting of Electors. Is there a mover? Councillor Mylan.
I move as per the officer's recommendation.
And a seconder? Councillor Ivey. Councillor Mylan, did you want to speak to it? Councillor Ivey.
Just commending the work that's gone into it again. It looks really good.
Thank you. Are there any speakers against it? Can we put it to the vote, please, councillors? All those in favour? Carried 9-0. Thank you.
May I just make a special mention of Shire?
Definitely. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President, for your allowance here. I'd just like to put on the record a vote of thanks to Shamara Markotis for pulling together the annual report in a new format and having separated the annual financial report from the somewhat verbose, but necessarily so, annual report. So just a small vote of thanks from myself that goes to Shamara.
Thank you. She's done a great job. Page 22, 9.2.1, request for extension to lease condition of time restriction for development completion, site 519 Windy Harbour. Councillor Ivey.
I move as per the officer's recommendation.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Mylan. Did you want to speak to it, Councillor Ivey? Councillor Mylan. We'll put it to the vote, please, councillors. All those in favour? Carried 9-0. 26, page 26, 9.2.2, proposed lease to occupy to Southern Forest Arts Incorporated. Councillor Ivey is to leave. Did you want to move? Councillor Councillor Omadej?
Madam Chair, I move as per the officer's recommendation.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Winfield. Councillor Omadej, did you want to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Councillor Winfield? Shall we put it to the vote? Are there any speakers against? We'll put it to the vote, please, councillors. All those in favour? Carried 8-0.
Just wait for Wendy.
Yep.
So, Madam President,
Hang on. Got to wait for Wendy.
we're up to 9.12.1.
Wait, Wendy.
That went quick.
Wait for Wendy.
I'm waiting.
Thank
I'm just
you.
making small
Page
talk.
29, 9.2.3, proposed lease, Little Taddy's Childcare Centre.
Dot, what am I doing, Stan?
Is that where we are? 29?
I'd like to move officer's recommendation with one small change, that council authorise the chief executive officer to execute a lease agreement to Pemberton Community Childcare Centre Incorporated for 79 Heppel Place, Pemberton Reserve 30376 for a term of 5 years, with a renewal option of a further 5-year term at a rental of $10 per annum, subject to the following conditions, which are to remain the same: 1, 2, 3 and 4.
Is there a seconder? Did anyone want to foreshadow the original motion in case this doesn't get up? All good?
I'll second the motion, Madam Chair.
Second?
Could I foreshadow the officer's recommendation? Is that what you want?
Sorry, Madam President, may I?
Thank you.
I'm not sure that we need to foreshadow a motion here. You can deal with this through an amendment. A foreshadowed motion is an alternate motion, and if you would like to change the number from $1 to $10 to $100 to $200, can be dealt with through an amendment. So if an elected member would like to test whether what the number should be, you should deal with that through an amendment, not a foreshadowed alternate.
Did you want to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I'd like to just speak to the motion. I think it's consistent with the item we've just dealt with the two items to follow this, where it's $10. Currently they're paying $100. It's not a lot of money, and we're shifting it to $200. In the report, it mentions that recently the facility was refurbished to bring it up to a minimum standard. It's also worth noting that this group made a large contribution to that refurbishment, to the building. They operate quite independently. There's no cost to budget in the process. If you compare it to other facilities in the Shire, there is a cost to budget, and so the fact that they're able to operate in such a way, sure, they've got the potential to raise an income, but we've got other groups that have got potential to raise incomes and they only pay $10. I won't bother to list all those groups that pay $10, but there are groups that are more than capable of raising incomes that only pay $10. So I think it's just for consistency's sake, and the fact there is a review, and if there's a need to change it, then we can do it at that change. But to single these guys out that they need to pay $200 when the majority are paying $10 is a little bit inequitable. And I think it's not a lot of money, and their primary purpose is to this cost would have to be passed on to parents with young children in the current environment. So for consistency's sake, I'd like to see it just to remain at $10. Thank you.
Councillor Omadej, did you want to speak to the motion?
I'd just like to agree with the sentiment of Councillor Ventress's motion. There's no doubt Tiny Tatties are a very viable organisation, and they do undertake quite a lot of fundraising to keep their operation going. I think it's one of those community organisations we should be supporting.
Thank you. Are there any speakers against? Certainly, Councillor Winfield.
Does this organisation receive Commonwealth funding for its operations?
Director of Community Services.
They don't receive operational assistance, but they certainly are, like all childcare centres, the government subsidises some of the childcare fees.
Thank you. Are there any speakers?
Can I ask a question as well? I just want to clarify we don't know the exact number, but the implication from Councillor Ventress's question was that these are being singled out. Are there any other groups that are profit-making or potential to make profit and who are paying $200 or some other figure greater than $10?
Director of Business?
Madam President, I'm quite comfortable to
CEO?
answer it. So the Shire's present leasing policy includes a matrix of payments depending on the definition of the type of organisation, and the organisations that have revenue streams aside from the odd grant here and there, the recommendation of the council policy is that the lease fee is $200. And for incorporated associations that don't have a revenue opportunity, it's $10. And I understand we're not talking, overly material dollars here, but that's the policy guidance.
Question?
Yep,
So, for
thank you.
instance, the Manjimup childcare one down here, are they $200? Does anyone know?
Director of Business?
Through the chair, I believe they would meet that same matrix. However, the variance there is we own that building opposed to Little Taddy's control their building. It really comes down to that matrix, so I'd probably have to take that question on notice.
Any other speakers against the amendment?
Question. Do we know whether this organisation charges significantly less for childcare services in comparison to other childcare services? Are they charging commercial rates, or are they charging considerably less because they're an incorporated association?
Sorry, Madam President, I don't know the answer to the question. If there's an elected member in the room who might be able to respond, it's your call as to whether you'd like an elected member to provide some information on it.
Are you certain of the information, or is it secondhand?
Can I speak to the motion?
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm astounded we're talking about $190 here right now. I'm also astounded that we ask about reducing a childcare's annual lease fee to $10 from $200 when we've got a company making $505 million, turning over $505 million, $500 million a year, that we give a lease to for 80 cents a month. So I think, put it in perspective, I think the Baptist Care, if you can't work it out, we give them two lots, one's not built on and one's at the other end for 80 cents a month. So put it into perspective, for $190, I'm pretty sure we can save it. I do have to declare an impartiality, by the way. My grandchildren both attend Little Taddies. I'm not arguing for that, but it doesn't make any sense that we wouldn't support our local childcare centre, who does a great job, by the way. So I urge you to support the motion.
Are there any speakers against the motion? Did you want to close? I don't think there was a debate because there was no one against it.
I've got a further question.
Question first.
What are they currently paying?
100.
Oh, it's in the report? It's 100, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Yeah.
$100 and a year. Did you want to close?
Just an attempt to answer some of those questions. My understanding is that that's more than commercial rate that these people pay. I've already explained to you that they raised a significant amount of money and contributed to the repairs of the building, a building which we own. They were hopeful of having solar panels. The budget didn't allow for solar panels to be fitted, so they pay for the full amount of electricity used. There's no cost of budget. We have a similar facility in Manjimup called the Manjimup Community Centre. In reality, that could be described as the Manjimup Childcare Centre. The arrangements are somewhat different, but just so that you understand, in 2021 it was a cost of budget with the depreciation of $74,000 removed. It was a cost of budget of $48,000 to budget, and that most probably didn't cost the full cost of things like garden insurance and gutters. In 24-25 we've got a budget to subsidise the community centre in Manjimup, which is primarily childcare, for about $47,000. So we do look after childcare. We do. It's a slightly different arrangement. I appreciate that, but in this situation, these people they only pay 1/3. The Manjimup childcare centre only pays 1/3 of their facilities, electricity and water, and they pay 1/3, about $4,000. So there is a precedent, and we've got the Landcare group paying $10, we've got Baptist Care paying $10, we've got a lot of other groups that get large grants and money that can pay $10. I just don't think we should single out a group like this that's doing childcare, doing a great job, paid a substantial amount of money to improve our building, missed out on their solar panels. To shift it from $100 to $200 sends the wrong message, and we're having a review into this situation. So based on the fact that groups like Landcare, Baptist Care and others do great work in this community and get it for $10 and got substantial buildings, I think in this situation we can show, for $190, show some sort of discretion and leave them on the same rate as everyone else. I'm not comfortable, and I didn't realise there'd be so much against it, to be quite honest, and I didn't want to really bring up the matter about the amount of money that we spend on budget into the community centre, but I'd like the motion to be put. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, can we vote on it? Oh, there's nothing to second. All those in favour... No. He's closing the debate. All those in favour, please. 2, 4, 6, 8. And against? Me. Thanks. 46. Okay. Page 46, 9.5.1, review of delegations, authorisations and appointments, Development Services Directorate.
As per officer's recommendation, Madam
Thank
President.
you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Ivey. Councillor De Campo, did you want to speak to the motion? Councillor Ivey. All those in favour, please, councillors. Carried 9-0. Where are we up to? 66. Okay, page 66, 9.5.4, Responsible Authority Report. Proposed motel and restaurant at lot 71 and 72, Pritchard Street, and lot 73, 74, Narocki Way, Manjimup. Someone like to move? Councillor Darren.
I'll move as per the officer's recommendation.
Is there a seconder? Councillor De Campo. Councillor Darren, did you want to speak to the motion?
I do. This might be a little bit confusing. Firstly, I would like to foreshadow an alternative recommendation should this not go through. Do I need to read out the full alternative?
Yes, please.
Yes, okay.
Sorry.
So, I will foreshadow an alternative recommendation that Council recommend that the Regional Joint Development Assessment Panel refuse the Development Assessment Panel application reference DAP/24/02791 contained in attachment 9.5.4 in brackets 1 in accordance with clause 68 of the Planning and Development Local Planning Schemes Regulations 2015 and the provisions of clause 10.3 of the Shire of Manjimup Local Planning Scheme number 4 for the following reasons. The proposal does not comply with the minimum requirement for car parking as per Local Planning Scheme number 4, Table 2 car parking. And given the proposed street setbacks, the proposal cannot provide a minimum 3 metre landscaping strip to all street frontages in accordance with Local Planning Policy 6.1.18 landscaping. The reason for the alternative recommendation is that the proposal is not compliant with the Local Planning Scheme or Local Planning Policy requirements. Having said that, I will speak for the officer's recommendation. And the reason for foreshadowing that is because I feel as though there's a lot of people in the room, all of us are probably feeling a little uncertain when it comes to this particular development application and what comes behind the development. And I got to speak at one of the primary schools this week and offer the Community Spirit Award. And I used a quote with them, and I'm going to use it for you now. That it's from cultural anthropologist Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed individuals can change the world. In fact, it's the only thing that ever has. And I think that's relevant because I think the people sitting in this room do want the very best outcomes for development in this community, and especially when we are talking about town centre and we are talking about tourism development, which is something that we have been desperately needing in Manjimup for a long time. And we want it to be done within the planning rules, and we do want it to be done to a certain standard, and we do have some doubts around whether or not this particular development, if built, will meet the expectations that we do have set. The reason I'm speaking for this motion is because I do believe that in many ways this is a formality with it going to a DAP, or the Development Assessment Panel, and that in many ways we are better off going through this process with the number of conditions that are attached to this recommendation and ensuring that our expectations are met and that they are held to account to do that. The alternative, although I do feel as though it's maybe where my gut wants to go and maybe where a lot of us wants to go, it becomes difficult in that once it is out of our hands, we do need to be able to rely on the conditions that are attached, and it's simply if we refuse to recommend approval, then we lose that ability to have some control over the conditions. So I am in support of the officer's recommendation, although it does sit uncomfortably with me, and I expect that it sits uncomfortably with a few people, but I hope that with the hard work that's been done by the planning team to ensure that there are some pretty stringent conditions, that hopefully we will get a better outcome than maybe we have been expecting for a while.
Thank you, Councillor Darren. Councillor De Campo, did you want to speak to the motion?
I'd like to speak against the motion.
Okay. Right then.
Thank you, Madam President. And whilst I do speak against the motion, I would like to congratulate staff on their efforts in conditioning this item so that when it does go to JDAP, and I do understand that this is a formality. It's unfortunate it is a formality. However, in the words of Winston Churchill, never give in. Never, 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 never. In nothing great or small, large or petty, never give in except to the convictions of honour and good sense. And I can tell you this does not make good sense. And we have one facility that already is being labelled as a donga camp, has terrible signage and a terrible vista. However, having said that, I concede that I will vote for the motion, although I speak against it. I speak against it out of principle, I suppose, the principle that the government asks us to do something that we don't want to do, but we have to do it in any case. So I urge you to support the motion, whilst I speak against the principle of going to JDAP and taking it out of our control.
Thank you, Councillor De Campo. Are there any other speakers for the motion? Councillor Mylan.
I came here fully expecting to speak against this motion, like a number of people, I guess. However, the arguments I've just heard make sense to me, and I hadn't thought of it that way before. So, and I'd like to say that I'm very concerned about whether or not the project will be delivered in the way that we would like it to be delivered. I think the proponent has not done a good job in previous builds in our town, and we are left with an unsightly, unfinished site for one of those projects. And I would hope that the conditions, and reinforce the remarks that have been made about the good work that's gone into stipulating those conditions, which I hadn't really given that much thought before. But I think that's the way to go. And I think we do need to keep a really close guard and watch on what happens here.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers against the motion? For? Okay.
Could I ask a question?
Question, Councillor Amadei?
To the CEO. CEO, if this item goes before JDAP, obviously it's taken out of our control completely, and they will make the final decision. So do they take into account the information that's being provided here, or the motions that are being passed at this meeting, or do they just consider it in their own right?
CEO.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Councillor Amadei, for the question. The Shire's obligation to the Joint Development Assessment Panel is to present both the officer's report and recommendation and the council's resolution. Sometimes they're one and the same, and sometimes they're different. So yeah, there is a statutory process involved that requires the officer's report, the recommendations and the motion. So yes, the Joint Development Assessment Panel do take consideration of the Shire and the Council's perspective of things, and I don't believe the changes to the JDAP representation model have changed as yet, Mr. Giadresco. No. And so I believe we'll have local government representation on the JDAP for now. So that representation can, there's an opportunity through that representation to further present the Council's perspective on this.
Local government still outnumbered.
3-2.
For the motion, Councillor Ventris?
I'd like to speak for the motion. Why I have the same concerns that are already expressed. I think with what's just been said, I think there's some wisdom there, and I think there's some wisdom in considering that we go to JDAP with a united sort of situation, and if by supporting this and voting this, we go with the support of staff and the support of council, and I think that strengthens our position. It's already been discussed that in the current situation, it's been quite a good recommendation, and I think by staying united with staff, that would strengthen our position rather than weaken it, rather than go with two different stories, if you like. So I'd encourage everybody to vote, and for it to be, I think there might be some merit in it being a unanimous vote, and we show a united support for what's in front of us. While it's being well recognised that it's maybe not perfect, it's must be the best we can do. So I'd encourage a unanimous vote if people can feel free to vote that way. So I speak for the motion.
Are there any speakers against the motion?
Just clarify, are we voting on the substantive or are we voting on... Okay.
Yes. Yes, do you want to close?
Yeah, look, it sounds like everybody is maybe on the same page. I suppose I just wanted to take this opportunity to close the debate to say that, yes, as a united team, I hope that we can move forward and that we can make it clear that as far as the Shire of Manjimup is concerned, we have high expectations. We are not looking for infrastructure for the sake of infrastructure. We do want things built in this community, in all of our communities, that are of a high standard and that will last well beyond us being here. That's our expectation, and we are going to hold people to account to ensure that our community gets the very best of what they deserve. And that's the expectation that we're taking in. And if we can have a united front, if we can be those committed people that stick together and have that good outcome that really makes a difference, then I think that this recommendation can do that. So I encourage you to vote for it.
Thank you. Councillors, can we put it to the vote, please? All those in favour? And against? Carried 8-1. Thank you. Page 83. 9.5.6, proposed amendment 28 to local planning scheme number 4 at lot 200 Club Road and Swimming Pool Road, Pemberton, adoption for purposes of advertising. Is there a mover? Councillor Amade.
Madam President, I move as per the officer's recommendation.
And a seconder? Councillor De Campo. Councillor Amade, did you want to speak to the motion?
Yes, I would. I'll try to be brief, Madam President. This item is quite straightforward. Council in August of 2022 resolved to amend the scheme number 4 and rezone lot 200 Club Road, Swimming Pool Road. And what we're doing today is with the draft scheme amendment documentation finalised, Council's now requested to re-adopt the amendment for the purpose of advertising, as the documentation varies from the above council resolution, and a copy of the draft scheme amendment is attached. And before I go into the actual planning scheme amendment, I'd like to acknowledge the efforts of Jocelyn Baster, who has worked cooperatively with Gordon Smith, who is the immediate past president of the Pemberton Aged Accommodation Incorporated. Gordon would be well known to staff here. In fact, he was a member of the State Planning Commission Appeals Tribunal many years ago, back when I was involved in that. And he moved to Pemberton and worked with the Shire of Manjimup for a while, and has been the president of PAAI now, I think, for about 14 years. He's ably assisted by Christine Trappett, who's a former accountant who knows where every cent is. She's been involved in PAI for 34 years now, and they make a formidable team. We identified this piece of land which belonged to Wesfarmers about 5 years or 6 years ago. Wesfarmers agreed to hand it over to PAI on their 100th centenary. Alan Carpenter came down and made an announcement, and it took us another 4 years to get the land actually handed over to PAI. So the land in question is adjacent to the recreation facility in Pemberton. It lends itself to development for residential development. I would hope that it would be a mix of aged accommodation and some normal accommodation, but that's a decision to be made by the PAI. The land was within the noise buffer of the mill for many, many years and was unable to be developed while it was in the hands of Satiko, Guns and subsequently Wesfarmers. So Wesfarmers has been very generous in ceding the land to us for no funds exchanged. The land was covered with houses going back in the 50s and 60s, so there are still some residual old septic tanks and things. So I found one of them the other day when I was mulching the paddock. So the report by Gordon Smith is 54 pages long, and obviously being a planner and with Jocelyn's help has put forward a straightforward challenge for us. So in conclusion, if I can the conclusion to the report talks about it's consistent with the provisions of the Shire Manjimup local planning strategy, which provides for the land to be included within the town centre. I didn't mention to you, but it's currently zoned tourism development where you can't do residential, so hence the rezoning to town centre to facilitate that. The land's owned by the Pemberton Age Accommodation for a range of houses for the elderly. It'll allow for the redevelopment of the land for residential purposes, when in fact it was formerly used for housing. It'll likely accelerate the development of that portion of the inner town site land, which is down the bottom, close to the rec facility, close to the baker, which I think elderly people would like. The proposal complies with all statewide and local planning objectives. There's no significant impacts on the surrounding land use that would render the development of Lot 200 for residential or other town centre purposes or rendered inappropriate. And the present tourist enterprise zone only allows for the establishment of land use for which there is no apparent current or immediate future demand. So hence, so we're just about to, we've actually signed a document the other day to order 2 new duplexes for the current complex up the top next to Dockrine Close. They'll be followed by another unit. We have been hampered to some extent by the bushfire attack level requirements for that area, which has taken about 4 lots away from us. So
it's
this land,
5 minutes, councillor.
So this land will serve the purpose of the next stage of PAI. So I commend the councillors, and again I thank Gordon Smith and Jocelyn Baster for their work.
Thank you. Councillor De Campo.
Thank you, Madam President, for the opportunity. I think Councillor Omadei has put it concisely and effectively, and I commend the motion to you.
Thank you. Are there any councillors, would any councillors like to speak against the motion? Can we put it to the vote, please, councillors? All those in favour? Carried 9-0. Okay, page 100. 9.5.9, proposed budget adjustment, replacement of public barbecues in Windy Harbour Reserve. Would someone like to move the motion?
I move as per officer's recommendation.
And a seconder? Councillor Darren. Councillor Ivey, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I agree with the author's comment that Shire managed facilities haven't have been lacking in maintenance for a fair while down in Windy Harbour, and it's been causing a lot of angst amongst the residents down there. We're coming into the busiest time of the year down there. It's great to see the new footpath, access path that the locals have been asking for. But all these things also help build the tourism industry down there as well. So yeah, I hope that we put this through.
Thank you. Councillor Darren. Is there any speakers against the motion? Can we put it to the vote, please, councillors? All those in favour? Carried 9-0. Merry Christmas, Councillor Amodei. Stay safe. We'll see you in the new year. Thank you. Councillor Amodei has left the building. Page 112, 9.12.1, request to consider staging the regional road group funding in 2025-26 for North Walpole Road. Councillor De Campo.
Thank you, Madam President. I have an alternative recommendation. It is one that Council continue with works on North Walpole Road adjacent to Underhill Road in the 24-25 construction year. And point two, that Council design and cost remediation of the section of North Walpole Road adjacent to Underhill Road and enter it into the 10-year forward works plan, seeking funding co-contributed from the state, tree companies and the Shire of Manjimup.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Wilcox? Councillor De Campo, did you want to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to speak to the motion. It pains me to think that we would push this project back 3 or 4 years to try and build a war chest to do this one section of road when trucks will still get stuck on this one section of road for those next 3 or 4 years. I did a site inspection, in fact, on Monday, with Councillor Wilcox, and it is evident on that section of road that yes, it has a steep gradient, it may be 14%. However, there are other RAV networks in the district, and I did a tour of the one between Bridgetown and Nannup on Wednesday, and there are a number of sections of that go between 10 and 14%, and it's a RAV network. I don't believe the RAV network would be taken off us. In fact, I think a number of months ago I remember having a debate around roads that were requested to be put onto the RAV network that I did mention were sand pits and sand traps, and they were put on the RAV network, so I can't see them taking this off the RAV network for that reason. That particular section of road has got, the subgrade section of the road has failed, and that's why the trucks get stuck there. I'm not sure if you're aware, but I own trucks and have some understanding of when trucks get stuck on hills, and essentially it's like a carpet that's rippled up, and so when the truck gets to that piece of the carpet, the drives bounce and then start to spin. So I think that we can deal with that through reconstruction. There are two ways you construct a road. It's either flexible pavement or rigid pavement. You could go with a rigid pavement section of that road, which means you would put concrete there so it doesn't ripple up, and you could put concrete so that you could have more grip, or we go with a better flexible pavement with sharper stone. I don't expect that the Walpole community should sit around and wait for us to amass enough money to be able to do that small section of road. There's also no evidence, evidence of when tree companies are actually transporting out of there. We don't have a schedule of when tree companies are going to be using it in the next 10 years. Will they use it in the next 5 years? There's none transporting out of there now by the looks. So let's work all of that into our forward works program and not stop this road project right now. The community deserves its road to be built, and to be built as it is, and we should have good design, good forward planning, and we shouldn't be coming up to a project and saying we shouldn't be doing it. In the last 12 years that the last heavy haulage manager was at this Shire, so it wouldn't be quite the last 12 years, and although I accept 2 roads have been taken off the network potentially in the last 12 months or 2 years, maybe a touch longer, due to accidents, no roads were removed from the RAV network. In 12 years that our former heavy haulage manager was here, and no roads were removed, and there is no way that they would remove funding from us because we are building the road. So I just urge you to build the road, urge you to support the motion and build the road for the Walpole community.
Councillor Wilcox? Are there any speaker question against?
Just ask a question.
Question?
Do we currently have the funding to commit to the section of road that Councillor De Campo has proposed?
Director of Works and Services.
Madam Chair, so
The funding for next year's work, we've applied for $500,000 to do the next lot of works on North Walpole Road, and pending roads to recovery and approval of Shire budget, we should have the contribution.
Are there any speakers against? Shall we put it to the vote? All those in favour? Do you want to reread the alternative? Is that so we know what we're voting on? Thanks.
One, that council continue with the works on North Walpole Road adjacent to Underhill Road in the 24-25 construction year. And 2, that council design and cost remediation of the section of North Walpole Road adjacent to Underhill Road, enter it into the 10-year forward works program and seek funding co-contributed from the state and tree companies.
All those in favour? Carried 8-0. Do you need a copy of that alternative? Yeah. 123. 9.16.3, unconfirmed minutes of the Reconciliation Action Plan Advisory Committee meeting held on the 8th of November 2024. Councillor De Campo. Page 126.
I'd like to move as per officer recommendation with a change to point 3. So points 1 and 2 will stay the same. Point 3 is removed with a new point 3, and that is to instruct the Chief Executive Officer to seek community consultation on the proposal to dual name the Manjimup Heritage Park, recognising the traditional custodians.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Darren. Councillor De Campo, did you want to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam President. Just quickly, this is really to take out point 3, as there is an expectation that a name has already been chosen for the park without going out to broader consultation with other Indigenous groups, and that it goes out to the community, the broader community, including Indigenous groups, on the naming of the park, recognising the traditional custodians of our land.
Thank you. Councillor Darren. Are there any speakers against the motion?
Speak for the motion.
Are there any speakers against? Good. For? Councillor Mylan.
I'd like to speak for the motion because I think it is a little bit of a wisdom in there, but I do. That doesn't mean that I don't want to note the recommendation by Elder Suzanne Kelly to include Manjimup as meaning the whole of in the Manjimup Heritage Park's name. I do take note of that, but I think that point's actually covered in point number 1 anyway. So, and I commend the work of the Reconciliation Action Plan Group in doing this. However, I do see some sense and wisdom in making sure that as a council we're not making any assumptions about what we might think any future dual naming might be, and that we do consult broadly with the Indigenous groups and see what their thoughts on the matter are.
Question, Councillor Winfield.
I'm not sure this could be answered right now, but I'd be curious to know whether this is a Geographic Names official place, because they have a protocol for this.
Director of Community Services.
I would, through you, Madam Chair, on the surface I would say no. However, I think it is worth still taking that on notice and doing a bit of exploration on that.
If that were the case, all this would be dealt with quickly.
Yeah.
This was community consultation.
Thank you. Councillor Ventro? Yeah. Do you want to just do an explanation first?
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
So I'm just I'm seeing a few quixotic looks around the council chamber. So Councillor Winfield was referring to the Geographic Names Committee, which is a really exciting committee in the Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage, which have a whole set of rules and regulations around the naming protocols for certain types of places. Certain official names of places have to be approved through the state government, through this Geographic Names Committee. So Councillor Winfield was really asking, does the Manjimup Heritage Park qualify as a place that requires approval through the Geographic Names Committee? And if so, there are some mandatory consultation processes built in there. So that's what that little conversation was about.
Thank you. Councillor Ventris.
Yeah, I'd like to speak for the alternative motion as put, but I'd just like to emphasise the fact that the word community and consultation, I'd encourage the CEO to particularly his first port of call be to the Cultural Advisory Committee, and very much to the different Aboriginal corporations. Just get that right before we go out to the general community. So why it's I understand the motion, and it's quite encompassing when it mentions the word to go out and consult the community. I think there's most probably an order that I'd encourage, and in supporting the motion I'd encourage that we very much first of all go to the key stakeholders, and it'll be far more successful to get that support of as many as possible, or the full of the key stakeholders, and then go to the community and with their full support. So I just want to make sure that we consult the culture advisory committees first potentially, and get their support of what we plan to take to the wider community that we live in. Thank you.
Okay, can we put it to the vote? Thanks. All those in favour? Carried 8-0. Thank you. 127, 916.4, unconfirmed minutes of the Manjimup Heritage Park Advisory Committee meeting held on the 12th of November 2024. Councillor Ivey.
I move as per the officer's recommendation.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Mylan. Councillor Ivey, did you want to speak to the motion?
Just to note Jess Winter's important contribution to that committee over a very long time. Thank you for it.
I was actually going to bring up the same thing, so well done. It's a shame that she left early and she didn't get to hear it. Councillor Mylan, did you want to speak to it? Or shall we put it to the vote then, councillors? All those in favour? Carried 8-0, thank you. Okay, nearly there. 916.7, unconfirmed minutes of the Northcliffe Town Activation Advisory Committee meeting held on the 14th of November 2024. Councillor Ivey.
I move as per the officer's recommendation.
So, Councillor De Campo. Councillor Ivey, did you want to speak to the motion? Councillor De Campo. Shall we put it to the vote then, councillors? All those in favour? Carried 8-0. 8-0. Okay. Alrighty. Late reports, we have one. Late report 1, Asset Management Planning Project Implementation Plan. Someone like to move the motion? Councillor De Campo.
As per officer recommendation. Thank you, Madam President.
Seconder? Councillor Mylan. Councillor De Campo, did you want to speak to the motion?
Thank you. I will take this opportunity to speak to the motion, Madam President, and just to commend the staff for moving so quickly with this. I think it's excellent that we are looking to get a handle on our asset management, and I will take this opportunity whilst being recorded and in front of the cameras to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, both in here and out there. Thank you, Madam President. I commend the motion to you.
Councillor Mylan, did you want to say anything profound? Or you good? Okay. Can we put it to the vote? Can we put the motion to the vote, please? All those in favour? Carried 8-0. Thank you very much. My goodness. Questions from members? 11.1, response to questions from members taken on notice. There are nil. 11.2, questions from members. There are nil. Motions for consideration at the following meeting. There are none. 13, new business of an urgent nature introduced by decision of the meeting. There are none. 14, applications for leave of absence. None. Closing. We just did it. It's nearly Christmas. We're nearly there. It's nearly Christmas. Okay, I'd just like to wish everyone in here and out there a very Merry Christmas and stay safe, and we will see you in the new year. There being no further business to discuss, I would like to thank those in attendance and close the meeting at 6:34. Merry Christmas.